listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And I have an announcement today, which is that we're on Stitcher, which I already announced on Tumblr, but... Woo! I don't know. I texted my mom and I was like, look, we're legit. Yeah, I know. But then I was also like, I just submitted a request and then they got back to me in less than 24 hours, so it's not fancy.
It's quicker than, what was it, Spotify?
No, freaking...
What was it that took forever?
Apple podcast took forever. Or no, it was Google. Google took forever and ever. The Apple one was pretty quick. Spotify was pretty quick. My recollection is that the Google Play Store took weeks and weeks and weeks. It's like, oh, good, finally. Not that many people listen to our podcast through the podcast app or the Google Podcast app or the Play Store or whatever, so I can be sassy about it.
Does anyone listen to podcasts through the Google Store?
I don't know. I don't have an Android phone, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. I do, and I don't listen
to podcasts through
My husband told me he uses Spotify, so who knows?
Yeah. I'm the worst for podcast demographics, though, because I just Google them in the browser and then open up the episode I want to listen to.
Oh, so you just listen to them through the browser?
Yeah, I don't subscribe or anything.
Ugh. How dare you? You need to be a model citizen now that you have a podcast.
I don't want them all on my phone.
All right.
I just want to listen to... I'm a streamer. I don't like downloading stuff. I've never liked downloading stuff.
It's legit. I mean, it doesn't matter to me because we have things that if people listen to them on the website, I just can track it anyway, so I don't really care. Anyway, it's legit. So if you use Stitcher, now we're on Stitcher. So I don't know why I was scared of submitting it to Stitcher. It just seems so legit, and it took 2 seconds. So,
woo.
Yeah, I'm excited. Anyway,
hey, we got a whole 250 followers.
We do.
That's almost legit.
It is pretty legit.
It's very legit in my eyes. I know it's not compared to the big boys, but
you're like, my favorite murder.
It's more legit than I
ever
expected.
Followers. Radio Lab or something. It is it's nice. Yeah. It's good. And it's still, it grows. I don't know. I honestly don't know anything about Stitcher, so I was like, oh, it's cool. And the nice thing, actually, I think something that's cool is you can tag your podcast more accurately. So there are more categories. So when you submit to Spotify or the Apple podcast thing or whatever, they have a pretty generic it's arts and entertainment or something that's our overall category, and then I think fine art is the top one or something like that. There's not even there's literature. Yeah. So I think, or maybe visual arts or something is the main category. But when I submit
this is
to
definitely
Stitcher,
fine art. This podcast.
Yes, it is very fine. The whole podcast itself is fine art.
Podcast is fine, and the hosts are fine.
Even more fine. I appreciate your bad thing. It's not a pun.
That's what I live for.
It's a bad joke. Okay. How about we start?
I was gonna say, anyway, we got as far as the announcements.
I made one. I'm 3 lines into my notes of 8 pages of notes. Okay. Did we even say? Oh yeah, we did say our names. Okay, good.
Yes.
Today we're discussing this episode of the anime, which is called "This is for Uo-chan." Sorry, not Toru-chan. This is for Uo-chan. Or was it "This is for Uo-chan" or "This is for Uo-chan" or whatever I said in my that one thing?
This is for Uo-chan.
Yes, this is for Uo-chan. Anyway, we're doing our summary, spoiler-free discussion, and then spoiler-free discussion as we always do. Although who knows what we're going to talk about, since we literally just talked about this 2 days ago. So this episode wasn't in the original anime, but it's the same content as our most recent manga discussion, which was our episode 21 called "It Feels Like Crap, But It Will Help You Grow," which is it's better. It's still a better quote. I'm in a imaginary quote off with between me and TMS or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So this episode is a continuation from last time. And in the last episode, Toru and Uo met, and then we saw kind of Uo's downward spiral in her gang days. Down to rock bottom, I think.
Now we get to see her upward spiral.
Yeah. First the downward spiral, and the upward spiral. We open under a bridge. A train passes overhead, and you can hear it clickety-clacking along. There are some girls from another gang beating Uo up, but she escapes by hitting them with traffic cones. And she makes it to an alley. She passes some high schoolers pass her outside of the alley, and they spot her, and they freak out and run off. Uo peeks around a corner, and then she starts to take off in the other direction without looking, and surprise, surprise, who should she run into but baby Toru Honda, our heroine, carrying tofu in an open bowl and splashing water and tofu everywhere. I crashed into you again, Toru says, and she starts to apologize, but then they hear the girls calling for Uo, and they see them appear at the end of the alley. Crap, Uo says, but then suddenly Toru grabs her arm and takes off running, and we cut to the opening credits. After the credits, they run back to Toru's apartment. Toru locks the door and then kind of lays back against it. Uo demands to know why Toru helped her, but then notices she turns and actually sees Toru like panting and freaking out behind her, and Toru slumps to the floor. You all right there? Uo asks. Yes. Please go in, Uo replies, or Toru replies. I don't know why I'm getting them mixed up today. They don't even have the same similar names like Makoto and Motoko, so everything's fine.
They've cursed you. Now you'll mix up everybody.
Those bastards. Toru brings a first aid kit for Uo, and Uo takes it from her, and she says she'll take care of herself. Meanwhile, Toru preps dinner, and you can see there's a shot of her like kind of neatly and properly chopping an onion. Outside of the kitchen, Uo laments how she ended up at this apartment again. She notices the altar that she didn't notice before in Toru's apartment and wonders about Toru's father. She didn't realize that he was dead. She opens up the first aid kit, which has an adorable note taped inside that reads, "Get better soon," and then everything inside is labeled Toru's or Mama's, and Uo closes the lid in disgust at how cute it was. Uo looks over as Toru prepares food. She sees her back in the kitchen. A kettle whistles and Toru goes to grab it. Uo turns on the TV and she leans back against the wall, her eyes closed. A weather report plays and she hears children outside saying goodbye to each other, and a breeze rustles the curtains. Toru appears around the corner and invites Uo to dinner, correcting herself again before calling her Uo-chan, but she notices Uo looking down and comes over. Of course it's uncomfortable here, Uo says. I never experienced any atmosphere like this, so I feel like an outcast and it's uncomfortable. Toru listens, surprised and concerned on her face as Uo continues, but even if I had something like this, I'd still say things like, "You're not my dad," and "Go to hell." Like I don't give a damn. And as she narrates this, we see a scene of the plate from last time being knocked to the floor and shattering. Uo stands with her fists clenched and then walks away, hands in her pockets. So you were right. You were right about the food.
My sense of what is it? I was gonna make a joke, but now I can't think of it.
Your sense of narrative poise, perhaps. Sense
of narrative inevitability. It was Chekhov's plate. We'll go with that one.
Okay. I don't understand that joke, but that's fine.
Chekhov's gun?
No.
You don't know that phrase?
No, I probably should, but I don't.
You really should.
Should I Google it?
Like, he was a playwright, and he said that, like, if there's a gun on the mantle in Act 1, it should go off in Act 2. It's basically like, if you're strongly referencing something, it should be because it's going to pay off later, basically.
It says Chekhov's gun is a concept that describes how every element of a story should contribute to the whole.
Yeah, so the lingering shot of the plate was like, that's going to come back later.
Mm-hmm. And boy, does it. That lingering shot of the plate is actually a 3-beat, if you want to get into it, over the 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But, even if my old man had dinner waiting for me, I'd say I'm not going home, or say it tastes like crap and refuse to eat it. The broken plate is shown again, and we transition back to Toru's apartment. I know I would without batting an eye, too. What difference does it make whether I have this or not? Isn't it the same? She wonders. It should be the same, so what's with this? Uo tears up, looking upset, and she thinks, I'm jealous and want it too. She holds her head in her hands and says, I feel like an idiot. Uo-chan, Toru says, running over and kneeling beside her, and then realizing she called her Uo-chan and then starts to apologize. Yeah, what? She says, finally not sassying her for calling her Uo-chan this time, and Toru smiles. When I saw that line last time where she's like, what? I was like, why did she say that? And now I finally realized when I was watching the anime this time. I've already seen it like at least once. It's like, oh. She responded to being called Uo-chan, which is cute.
Mm-hmm.
Uo narrates, a skyline near twilight, the smell of dinner cooking, houses lit up, the home you go back to saying bye to your friends, people who wait for you to come home, kind people who welcome you home with a smile. We see Toru sitting beside her, and Toru leans her head on Uo's shoulder. Was I actually just lonely, Uo wonders, tears still in her eyes, and she remembers Kyoko saying, I just relaxed a bit, that's all. Uo remembers herself as a child. She stands with her father. Owen walks away, and then her father walks away, leaving her alone. All this time, maybe I was actually just lonely, she thinks. Later that evening, Kyoko returns home and finds the girls together, kind of asleep or whatever. It looks like they're sitting still side by side. Uo resting her head on Toru's, and Kyoko smiles. Trivial moments for precious moments. Maybe that's what I was looking for. Uo narrates, and then we cut to the present. And Uo was like, listen to me blabbering about my embarrassing youth. Anyway, I love Toru, she says, and she grabs Toru. Love, Hana says, and she huggles her too, and Yuki asks what happened with Toru's mom and Uo, and then Uo hesitates to continue. Before she can say anything, the 3 Yankee girls that we met last time call Uo out and tell her to step outside, and Uo blatantly ignores them, and the girls freak out, saying they took too long getting pics of Yuki and Kyo. So not getting them involved this time because they had a smartphone. I feel like we talked about that. The girls miss out on the gang leaving and then call for them. They follow them outside and call after them, and Kyo and Yuki stand between them and Uo and Toru and Hana, giving them enough cut-eye to stop them temporarily. The Yankee girls follow, and Kyo asks if Uo knows them, which of course she says she doesn't. Don't look down on us, the obvious leader of the gang says. We're just ordinary delinquents now, but we're gonna make ourselves famous thrashing all the show-offs like you. Build a delinquent army that'll scare the shit out of people and take over this whole neighborhood. And then I said in my notes, me out, that's right.
Protect the world from devastation.
Exactly. Well, they have this funny, like, scene where she's, like, they're, like, spinning around, and they have, like, a whole... I can't remember. I don't know what trope it is.
It was a Team Rocket-esque
pose. It definitely was. And she, like, pointed her finger dramatically and stuff, so... Good luck, Uo says. And then the girls are like, what? They continue to spew sass in the background, and we cut to our friends in the front, and Yuki is like, I wonder what a delinquent army is. And Hana offers to take care of them. You know, like the vampires in the gym at her old school that we talked about last time. But yeah, I used to be like them too, Uo thinks. And then we transition back to the past. I wanted people to pay attention to me, but I also wanted to be left alone, she narrates. And then we see a scene of her de-stringing the peas with Kyoko. And Kyoko explains that everyone is selfish, even her, even adults. Then why do adults act like they're so much better than us? Uo wonders. Ooh, my deepest apologies, Kyoko replies with a laugh. And Uo explains that she went to Toru's house often. We see scene after scene, which is a little bit different than the manga, of Kyoko opening the door to Uo. One time she's beaten up, one time she's dripping wet in the rain, one time she's beaten up so badly that Kyoko has to like look around at the door, and then she looks down and sees her sitting kind of beside the door on the ground. Kyoko always welcomed me warmly, Uo says, and listened to her childish problems. So we come back to the earlier scene of them de-stringing the peas, and Kyoko announces that it's done. Toru thanks them for their hard work. And Uo asks why Toru always speaks so formally, and Kyoko explains that Toru's dad, Katsuya, also spoke like that, and it's rubbed off on Toru, and it's adorable. Before Uo knew it, the place became comfortable for Uo. I guess Toru and Kyoko made it that way, she thinks. And she starts spending more and more time there, and she got to know Toru. She became friends with her, and then she even started going back to school because then she could see Toru more. We see an adorable scene of them studying, and Uo says it was easy to become friends with Toru because Toru was standing by her from the start. We see the 2 girls talking in the hallway, and a teacher calls Uo out and asks what she's doing. Uo says they're just talking, and the teacher asks Toru if she's okay. What do you mean? Toru asks. Uo narrates that apparently they didn't look like friends to the people around them, which was nothing. There's nothing she could do about that. We cut away from the school to a grungy park, and Uo's gang says they haven't seen her lately, and they even heard that she's going back to school, so they plot to teach her a lesson. We'll cut back to school. We see another scene of their middle school days, and Toru is in a cooking class. A random girl in the class asks if she and Uo are best friends. Best friends? Toru says, blushing bright red and nervously but fervently whisking the muffin mix that they're making. I don't deserve the honor of something so wonderful. But maybe I'm the only one who thinks we are, she thinks, and then says, sorry, out loud. And the other girl's like, huh? We overhear some other girls in the class gossiping. Toru and Uo can't possibly be friends because they're so different. Maybe since Toru hangs out with Uo, Toru isn't to be trusted either. And Uo, who's sitting outside in the hallway of the class, overhears them. She doesn't mind them saying stuff like that about her, but doesn't want them to spread rumors about Toru. Maybe it would be better if she just stayed away from her, she wonders. And she overhears the girl ask if Toru made too many muffins, but Toru says, no, this one's for Uo-chan. Title drop, I mean.
This one's for Uo-chan.
Yeah, this one is for Uo-chan. We turned the cutest moment of this into a joke. Just multiple jokes. Uo is shocked, and then she rests her head back happily against the classroom wall, and we cut to later. Uo is surrounded by her gang. So we take a hard left turn into the gang life again. She told them that she wants to leave, but of course they remind her that leaving comes with a price. And as the girls get ready to beat Uo up, one conspicuously leaves from the background. You can see, like, on the left-hand side of the screen. Crap, Uo thinks, I'm scared, but I want to run away, but... And then she imagines Toru smiling. But... A hand raises, and one of the girls shouts, "I'll teach you," and slaps Uo. The night's just beginning, another says, and punches her, and the gang takes turns beating her. I wanted to change, Uo thinks. It was the first time I wanted to, and we see her getting kicked and beaten further. I didn't want to be like this anymore. She imagines eating muffins with Toru. I wanted to change because I... And Uo is knocked to the ground. The girls continue to heckle her, but suddenly a voice calls, "Let's leave it at that." From above, at the top of a hill, and lit from behind, dramatically, Kyoko arrives, her jacket fluttering in the breeze. "Kyoko-san," Uo struggles to say, and then she passes out. Uo wakes up later, being carried on Kyoko's back in the moonlight, because Uo is injured. Kyoko explains that a senpai of hers came to the apartment and asked Kyoko to help her. She said that Uo should have the life that she wants. And Kyoko says that it was brave of her to leave the gang. "Nothing worth praising," Uo says, resting her head on Kyoko's shoulder. "I just caused trouble for everyone, even you, Kyoko-san." "Nah, all I did was shoot some kids off and run. Not cool at all," Kyoko says. But Kyoko says as well, Uo got really lucky. People have gone through way worse trying to leave their gangs. Uo begins to cry and says, "I'm an idiot. I don't learn until I get hurt." "There are feelings that you don't understand until you get hurt and make trouble," Kyoko says, and tears continue to stream down Uo's face. "There are feelings you start to understand only when you've hit rock bottom. You rebel against what's pure." We see Uo with her gang, depressed, and then home with her father, who just stares at the TV. "But when you're filthy," Kyoko continues, "you start to long for what's pure. You need gentleness to feel pain. You need sunlight before you notice darkness. You can't underestimate either, and neither are a waste. So even if you screw up sometimes, it's not for nothing. As long as you make sure to think, 'I won't let this be for nothing,' it's bound to become nourishment to help you grow in life." That's my theory on life, she says. "Kyoko-san," Uo says, sniffling and sobbing. "I want to be Toru's best friend. I want to become a best friend that she can take pride in." Uo thinks, "I wanted to. I was determined to change for that reason." "Good," Kyoko replies. The pair arrive at Toru and Kyoko's apartment, and Toru rushes out in her pajamas to meet them. "It's a little embarrassing to remember," Uo thinks, "how I bawled as she piggybacked me, but it wasn't for nothing." Uo and Kyoko smile, and Uo gives a peace sign. Toru smiles a relieved smile, tears in her eyes. Uo says that for a while after that people still picked fights with her, but she got through it because of Toru. She never saw that senpai again who helped her. She heard that she moved far away, and then in 8th grade, they met Hana, and things started to get better. And then we see the three of them together with Kyoko, who wields a large cake, and a banner behind them reads, "Congrats on entering high school." Kyoko always laughed like she was truly having fun, Uo narrates. But then, "I couldn't believe that she died," Uo says. We see the apartment at dusk, kind of shadows in the window, and it fades to night, the lights out completely. Uo stands outside in the dark and thinks, "I couldn't believe that I'd never see that apartment window lit again," and tears fall from her eyes. "I loved her," she thinks, and she remembers Kyoko carrying her. She saved a random kid who she had no obligation to. She was honest and warm and a big softie. I loved Kyoko. In the present, Toru calls for Uo and snaps her out of her memories, and Hana has been denpa-ing the Yankee girls in the background. And the girls continue to sass Uo, and then one tries to punch her, but Uo stops her with her hand on her forehead. "The kid doesn't have enough reach. She should have aimed low," Kyo says from the grumpy bench in the background, and Yuki hopes that this will just end soon. "The best time is when you're still underestimated, girly," Uo says to her surprise. "If you just want to show off, there are lots of other ways to do it. Stop acting out like this while you can, before anything serious happens. If you just want someone to scold you, I'll do it any time," she says, softly, and then lifts her hand off the Yankee girl's head. Our friends all leave, and the two of the Yankee girls kind of egg the other one on to go chase after them, but after a bit, she simply replies, surrounded by shoujo sparkles, "Ane-san." And the other two girls are like, "Ane-san?" Or if you read the subtitles, it said "I'm not worthy," or whatever.
Yeah. Hard to translate.
It is. I guess they didn't want to have a long translation note that was "Ane-san" is a term of respect for an older girl.
Kikaku means plan.
What?
You've never seen that joke?
No. Why do you keep making jokes that I don't know?
It was a Death Note fan sub, and it said just according to Kikaku, and then it had a star, and it said Kikaku means plan, and they're like, wait. It has become a joke about terrible translation choices.
Just according to Keikaku. Translator's note. Keikaku means plan.
Yeah.
Very good. You're really challenging my meme abilities and joke abilities, reference abilities this time. You gotta come back down to my level or something. The kids all part ways at the train station, and Toru thanks Uo and Hana again, I guess for the bathing suit and for hanging out as they leave. I can't see Kyoko-san anymore, Uo thinks as she waves goodbye, but she left things for me, her many words, her feelings, and most of all, Toru. All of these things nourish me to help me grow. At Uo's apartment, the sound of cooking can be heard from outside, and Uo makes the same dish that was showed before, the one that she broke the dish for. She hums as she cooks with an apron on and her hair tied back, and then she hears a drink can snap open behind her and frowns, and then sasses her dad in the other room. Hold it, old man. Didn't your doctor tell you to drink less? Ha, oops, you caught me, he says. And she's like, don't pull that cutesy act on me, you ass. You gotta reduce your sodium intake too. Sheesh. And then she smiles. And then we cut to credits. And then in this episode, there's another shawarma scene. That's right, I'm gonna call it a shawarma scene. You heard me. One of the girls,
Stop trying to make shawarma happen.
Oh, that's a reference that I understand. I'm not a regular host, I'm a cool host. It involves the three Yankee girls again, and one of them sits on the ground, and another one arrives wearing like a gang jacket emblazoned with on the back with Arisa Uotani for life, as it said in the translation, in the subtitle. Stop caring so much about how you look. Arisa's Arisa and we're us, the girl says. And then the girl in the jacket puts her hand on the other's forehead. Soft music plays in the background, she says. If you just want to show off, there are lots of ways to do it. Stop acting out like this while you can before anything serious happens. The girl's eyes shine with admiration as the one other girl in the jacket continues. If you just want someone to scold you, I'll do it any time. Shut up, the girl says, suddenly kicking her. Don't steal Uotani-san's lines. The third girl arrives, running over in a full Arisa Uotani cosplay, giggling like a sicko as her wig slowly shifts and then falls off. That's the end of this episode. On a slightly disturbing note. It was like funny and then disturbing. I think, doesn't it go black and white too?
Or just these episodes like came in slightly under time or something.
I guess. Both of them. Well, there's three. Yeah. We talked about how it's like each one is like 1.5 chapters instead of 2. Mm-hmm. So I guess it could theoretically be coming in at a time, but I don't know.
Instead of like padding it out, they're like, let's just do some stupid jokes after the credits.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe like, this is too sad. We're gonna have to make this better. Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting though. Both of them were sort of weird and funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, shawarma scene. That's the end of this episode. After that. Woo. There wasn't anything special in the credits.
Well, there's always something special in the credits because it's got the fat seahorse.
Oh, you're right. I forgot. How adorable it is. I really like that song by Intersection. Mm-hmm. I keep listening to it.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to talk about the food? Well, sure. So here's the thing. Here's
Chekhov's food.
Here's the situation, which is a lot of the things that we talked about this time, like I feel like the themes that we talked about this time are basically the same as the first, not even just the episode we just talked about of the manga, but also the first anime break that we did. Because it's all still kind of about the same topic. Like, it's all still one story. It's all about figuring out where you fit in and, like, you know, this contrast that's set up between what, like, a kind of a homey family life and the gang family life, right? Like, it's all kind of the same. Mm-hmm. So I want to just touch on those things and then talk about stuff that's different, or maybe like I don't know, other stuff. So one of the things that's different is this meal, this little piece of this whatever, a prop, one might say, that's in both episodes. So you were right. Last time we talked, we speculated about the food. There's like that really conspicuously wrapped plate of food that looks like fried noodles or something. In the first episode, and we were like, is that food that Uo made for her dad or food that her dad made for her? Like, what's the deal? What's the deal with this food? Mm-hmm. And it was here in this episode as well. I think you were right that it was implied that it was made by her dad. And there's that like hypothetical kind of scene of her being like, well, even if he made food, I would just say that it was gross, or I wouldn't come home or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's like this imagined scene of her breaking the plate.
Yeah.
And like I kind of mentioned earlier, I guess it's over the 2 episodes, it's a 3-beat, because you have the like setup, and then I guess it's set up in the first one, you see it there covered, then she knocks it down and breaks it, and then in the last, she actually cooks the same dish at the end, right, for her dad. So there's your subversion. It was kind of nice that it has like this running theme through this one little running piece throughout that ties that all of that idea kind of together.
Yep.
I think.
And it helps build onto your whole food and meals series.
Yes. Yeah, essays are due next week on food, eating meals and Furuba. I didn't specifically want to talk about it again because we talked about it before, specifically with this content before.
Yeah.
But that was an addition.
It's nice of the anime to add another evidence for your theme.
Thanks for building on my theory, anime showrunners. I appreciate it.
Yeah, great, now I can add more words to my essay. Meet the minimum count.
Here's my quote about dropping the food or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting she even cooks like exactly the same meal too, so it's set up well.
Yeah. And they had that like a version of that scene with her dad in the earlier episode too that I mentioned was from this part of the manga. In I think it was the New Year's episode when it had like Uo calling Toru.
Yes, Uo calls Toru, and in the background she's like, "Hey, old man, stop drinking so much," or whatever. I can't remember exactly what she says, but yes.
Yeah, it's like slightly different, but obviously from a take on the same scene.
It's related to. It's like we speculated at the time that it was like that this specific scene that was kind of like altered and put into that part of the show.
Yeah.
To establish a relationship with her family earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that I noticed that I feel like is a stronger contrast between the kind of like Uo's gang life and this sort of like this normalcy kind of situation that she wants. One reason for that is because like I think we talked about this in the manga episode that we discussed, or maybe it was in the first. It's hard because they're all running together. The first time we talked about this, the like episode 16 of the anime, one thing that I feel like we talked about was there's a lot more imagery because you can have like dialogue narration that's overlaid over imagery, whereas in like the manga you have to have room for the text. So there's a lot of added just like imagery that's setting up these, and I feel like the one thing that I noticed was this really strong contrast between like the house, like Toru's apartment, and all these scenes where you have like the like all these really soft sounds, like her cutting the food with a knife, and then like the weather report in the background, and the kids outside, and the wind kind of rustling and blowing, and then you have this like really strong contrast with her house where she goes home and it's like dark, everything's completely black except for the TV, which is just like blaring, right? Mm-hmm. It's so loud that they actually had that altered sound effect in that one at the very end of episode 16. So I thought it was just, I don't have a big thesis around that, but it's interesting how they set up the contrast with the use of imagery in these two episodes, or in this episode specifically.
Yeah, I think
that's nice.
Made good use of their ability to have audio in the anime for to establish the contrast in those scenes.
I guess the other thing that I want to touch on it's also what we talked about last time, but I still want to call it out again in case people aren't listening to the other ones or whatever, which is when we talked about the manga, we talked about a bunch of symbolism of change that was kind of present in these. So even around all of the text in the manga, there are some kind of like, there are still some pieces of imagery and symbolism that are shown. So one, for example, that carries through, it was in both the manga and this episode of the anime, was like the moon, like Kyoko is walking her home at night afterward, and of course like you see the sun coming up and whatever. There's a lot of like the day changing to night and night changing to day symbolism, right? And then also we talked about which I didn't realize until the last time we talked about this, but like the butterfly itself is of course a symbol of change. And so Kyoko's like her gang name, the red butterfly, of course can also be interpreted as another symbol of change. There are some things that were shown, I think, in the manga that weren't shown here. So yeah, I just want to point that out as well. We've got, Uo saying that she wants to change, and then all of this imagery that's supporting all of the message of these two episodes.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, Forrest.
That's my reference for you.
Yeah. They made the gang bigger. I was like, that's a lot of girls when they were getting ready to beat up Uo.
That's true. There was only like a handful of them, but maybe it's also just drawing a lot of, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. There's still not a lot of maybe there was more room for them in the the landscape layout of the shot or something. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it means anything. It's just something I noticed. I was like, whoa.
No, it did seem like the gang was bigger, though. I wonder if they just kind of made it bigger because they could, but...
Yeah, I mean, the anime did seem to have more, like, gang life scenes, so...
I think it is. Yeah, there's
be part of them kind of building up the role of the gang and Uo's stuff.
yeah. And the way in both the manga and the anime that like that scene of them deciding that they're gonna like teach her a lesson that's like deliberately inserted in between her being at school and then like one scene at school and another scene at school is really interesting too, and like really jarring because it's like in the middle of this like everything's going great for Uo, but it's like no, you still have this gang hanging over you.
Yeah. I appreciate Yuki's continued interest in the gang scene.
What do you think a delinquent army is?
Yeah. He sounded like genuinely curious.
Yeah, he did.
He's like secretly big into gang movies and stuff.
That's how he knows all the gang trivia for trivia night.
Yeah.
So we briefly talked about some of these things that we already talked about before because I feel like the symbolism is kind of the same. So I have a question for you, which is, so since it's all kind of the same, is there something that the anime has done? We've seen now the whole arc of this story, of these 3 chapters from the manga. Is there something that the anime has done to kind of like expand this part of the story or kind of like improve on it with the anime time? Like, can we kind of like compare and contrast them a little bit in any other ways?
I really do feel like just putting more like gang life scenes did kind of help it. Like just like you got more of like Uo's life with the gang and how not fun it was and how like deep into it she was.
I think they did a good job of representing her in the gang being kind of like after she, I think it was more in the last episode. Yeah, I think it was more in the last episode. After she kind of like meets Kyoko and then she's super, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Her like going through the motions phase of being in the gang.
I feel like that comes through a lot stronger.
I feel like that's when they added more of the thing because they have her like on the motorcycle, on the back of the motorcycle, and those other scenes are all around the same time.
Yeah, we talked
like
about
right
that.
after her first visit to the Honda household.
The scene of her being on the motorcycle is jarring. We talked about it before.
Yeah.
And I think in the manga it shows her getting beaten up. You see like the motorcycles there, but I feel like we didn't really see that before in the manga. So it's nice that they established earlier on. I think that there's motorcycles involved in Uo's gang too.
Yeah. I think it helps to show just like how young she is and how not kid friendly this life is. Like
I struggled when I was writing the notes or like the summary of when the girls were beating her up. I was like, are they still girls or are they women at this point? I don't know. Like they're kind of, they look a lot older than her, but they're probably not that old. Yeah. Kyoko calls them kids, so I'll stick with Kyoko.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's supposed to be noticeably younger than most of them, but I think they're meant to be like at least older high school.
Yeah, probably.
But they are still talking about like their parents and stuff in that one scene.
That's true. So. Yeah, you're right. I liked all the scenes that they added where she's like, I started visiting Kyoko more, and she comes and knocks on the door.
Yeah, I like that bit.
I thought it would like also, I think we kind of talked about it when we talked about episode 16, but it felt like in the manga she's like, oh, I went over and like I saw Kyoko and then I became friends with Toru, but really I think the point was clear in the anime that she got to know Kyoko first. Like she went there to talk to Kyoko before kind of becoming friends with Toru. I felt like that point comes across a little bit stronger. Their relationship seems a little bit stronger in the anime.
Yeah, I think it really shows so much of like a positive influence and like, I'm trying to think of the right word, like a person to look up to, model? Like Kyoko was. Yeah, like a role model, like because like Toru's an equal and a friend, which is important for her to have, but it was also really important for her to have Kyoko as kind of a role model to look up to and see there was something better that she could strive to even after having all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. She talks about how both of them were important to her.
Yeah, they were definitely like she needed both of them and for different things.
Yes. There's a lot of scenes where it's just her and Kyoko. Like Toru's not there. There's separate ones with her and Toru, but I love the scene where they're studying. It's really cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
There's a little scene in the manga, it wasn't in this, where she's like they're singing. They have like little, like they're Toru's singing or something. It's really cute.
Yeah,
I thought it was great how the teacher comes over and is like, "Are you okay?" And Toru's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
It's like so nice.
Like she has like no idea what to...
Yeah, she has no idea how other people
the
perceive their
assumption would
friendship
be. Yeah.
or their relationship at all. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is very sweet.
Yeah.
You suggested that I make this shorter, the specific one shorter, by summarizing it more, and I was like, but I gotta keep in all my favorite lines, like when Toru freaks out when she's like, maybe I'm the only one who thinks that, or whatever. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. It's cute.
It's so adorable.
Yeah. It's also really cute that she's so honored by the like even the idea of being best friends with Uo when everyone else is like, how are they friends?
Yeah, it's so great. Have you ever had a friend that you like wanted to be friends with, like that, or like someone that you knew that you wanted to be like a better friend for?
I don't know, we're getting deep and personal now.
No. I don't know. I just thought about it. I don't know. I relate. I was just fishing for compliments, of course.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you, of course. Duh. I was thinking when we were reading this that we've been friends since middle school, so it's like so it's just interesting. I don't know, like it's just cute. I feel like there's a lot of people. I saw a lot of comments on like on the Tumblr about people who are like the girls in this episode, and it's like, yeah, totally, like it's cool. Everybody, I get it. I relate on many levels with this story. Not the gang life particularly, but
yeah.
the way that they're friends and the kind of relationships that they have, and it's like it's interesting how like Kyoko is the one, it's just Kyoko and Toru, and Kyoko is the one who saves Uo and helps her out of the gang and stuff. Like it's a bunch of women who are helping each other be stronger and better together. It's nice. It's a good message at this time. So I relate.
Yeah, I value my friendships and relationships with other women a lot, so it's
Me too.
always good to see them in media.
Yes.
So it does get undervalued a lot of times.
I think so.
You get a lot of the like, girls are catty and kind of stuff.
We have other relationships. We have other examples of that, I think, in this, because there's like the girls that are really catty about Toru and Uo. The ones who were in the pool, they were all sassy about Uo being like, why is this delinquent in the pool or whatever. Like they were super sassy about her being at school. They were also really sassy about Toru talking to Yuki at the endurance run. Remember? And Hana zapped them.
Yeah.
Like there are characters like that kind of like show that negative side too.
Yeah. And I think it's fine to like have those, but like, while also acknowledging the the like strong friendships and stuff.
For sure.
Because it's like that, those relationships exist, same as there's,
It's like I know people like that too. So like
yeah, there's lots of like all these things exist. It's just when it like gets portrayed as like the natural order of girl relationships and stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely not like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it was nice. I don't know. It was a nice portrayal, and I enjoyed it once again for the third time this week or whatever.
Yeah, the timing shook out pretty funny.
It did. It was a little unexpected, but we got Uo's backstory, so.
Yep.
All right, sweet.
And it was
good. And Kyoko's a badass. I think I said this a couple of times already as well, but Kyoko's really great. And I think she shows like another kind of portrayal of women. She's not like just she's not just like going and beating up kids. Like Uo says that she was like a gang leader and she's super impressed with her, but then we talked about how, or Uo talks about how she earns respect for her in a whole, or kind of developed this respect for her in a whole other way. Like we get to see another side of like, you don't have to be like tough, you don't have to be like a certain way. She's she's a mother and she fights. She saved Uo too, and it's stuff like that. It's interesting to see that perspective too. That's represented in this this episode, these two episodes.
Yeah,
you don't have to be just one way. Just a doting mom.
Contain multitudes.
Yes, she's not just a doting mom. Toru's not just kind of both of them, right? Like Toru's not just like kind of a ditzy girl. Like she grabs Uo's arm and runs off. Kyoko's not just kind of like a doting mom, or like not like a former like hardcore gang member. She is that, and she's a mother, and also she's still able to kick some ass and help this other girl. So
yeah, it's good stuff. There's a lot of good female characters and relationships between female characters in Furuba.
There definitely are.
We haven't seen all of them yet.
We definitely haven't. There's good ones, there's bad ones, there's like, and by bad I mean like
by good by good I mean strongly written.
Yeah, realistic, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, there's good ones, and there's... Yes, sorry, you're right. There are well-written relationships between girls, between women in Fruits Basket, right? A variety of different types of relationships, good and bad, positive and negative.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we will get to see.
Cause there's like a whole thing where people talk about how like you get a lot of shows and stuff where there's like one female character and there's like pressure for them to be like perfect in everything because
friend.
they're the only female character. The solution to that is to add more female characters, because then you can have evil ones and good ones and sarcastic ones and shy ones and smart ones. It's like, don't make one character have to be all and end all. That goes for any kind of minority representation.
That's true.
Add more.
You're right. I can't make any arguments with that statement.
Yeah.
You're definitely right. I think that's a good note to end on. All right. Next, so we're going to talk about spoilers after the music. Next time we're going to talk about the episode that is called What's Important Is. So it's all right, I see.
The revelatory quote.
I see what you're doing, anime. Like, oh, you wanna go? Like, anyway, thank you all for listening. Spoilers. You can find us at staytogetherpodcast.com.
Is that a
yep,
spoiler?
That's a spoiler. You can find us on Stitcher. No longer a spoiler. So you can find us at staytogetherpodcast.com, Stay Together Podcast on Tumblr, Stay Together Pod on Twitter. You can email us at staytogetherpodcast@gmail.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, you can leave a review or rating in the Podcast app of your choice, including Stitcher now, and or tell your friends. We haven't made any jokes about telling your Girl Scout troop in a while or whatever, so
yeah.
tell your
friends, tell your dog sitter, tell your favorite Starbucks barista.
It's like, no, they just want to make your coffee. They don't want to hear from you. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now we're really going to talk about spoilers, not just Stitcher.
Stitcher spoilers.
I somehow does feel really weirdly legitimate that we have our own Stitcher now, even though it wasn't complicated at all. There's something intimidating about it. But really, it's nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, spoiler alert, we're weirdly intimidated by normal things.
Spoiler alert, I'm weirdly intimidated by a faceless thing that I'm creating content and distributing on. I feel like the whole like situation with having a creative endeavor is like you have to be like kind of weirdly worried about the quality, or have kind of weird like concerns about what you're doing constantly, but also ride that wave so that you're producing something good and you're always getting better. That's how I've made it my whole career. So
yeah, you just keep
like
doing what you're doing, constantly screaming,
constantly being like, I don't know what I'm doing, but then like kind of figuring it out and being like, I don't know if this is good enough, but I'm gonna try this thing to make it better. And then constantly, if you just ride that wave long enough of confidence and anxiety, then you'll get there someday.
Yes.
That's my advice to all you creative types out there. Because you have to be, I feel like to be good, to get better, you have to be self-critical. So you always have to be a little bit, I feel like it's just a natural state of being like for example, someone, on Fire Geek was like, Kayla, your sound sounds so good now. Kayla, your sound is A+ now. because I was like, this isn't good enough. So we like found another solution for it. Right. Anyway.
Glad to know it wasn't my microphone.
No, it turns out your microphone was amazing all this time, and it was just Skype that was shit, which is
being held back.
Yeah.
Poor microphone.
Oh.
I just pat my microphone.
Good. I didn't hear it.
Yes.
You pat it harder.
I stroked it gently on the neck part.
Okay, good.
So it wouldn't disturb it. I can do that if you want.
I said in my Tumblr post, I replied to that ask, and I was like, Kayla's getting the volume she deserves, but maybe it was your microphone that needs to get the credit.
Yeah. It's like, I've been trying so hard all this time.
Oh, it's okay, microphone. You're beautiful, just the way you are. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I also added, we're using a thing called Squadcast. If you have some kind of recording situation yourself and you need to record remotely, it's pretty good. It's turned out good. Not not sponsored. Just saying, it's been useful for us, so it's better than what we were using before.
Yeah, and it makes laser sounds
It
when you log
does.
on.
It does do that. When you sign in, it goes pew, and it makes me chuckle every time. Maybe it's just like a weird icebreaker.
Yeah.
It's just
So everyone goes, haha, how about those laser
what up with
sounds?
that? Yeah. So anyway, that's all. We're rocking and rolling. We got 250 followers on Tumblr. We got like a questionable amount of listeners on, and we got a new recording. We got a new sound thing, so we're good.
Everything's coming up. Stay Together
Yeah,
podcast.
so it is. All right. Let's talk about spoilers. Can we talk about the it's Kisa's coming next time.
Yes.
That quote is from that scene where they read the letter from her teacher, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Yuki says that, I think.
Also good that we just read this recently because I definitely wouldn't have. I think. Wait. Oh, was it Yuki? Maybe. It had Haru in the card, but I can't remember if it was him or Haru that said it.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's like from the letter or from Yuki's advice / commiseration to her. So
I think it's from the letter, and then Yuki quotes it when he's giving her advice. Because the teacher
maybe.
is like the most important thing is to like yourself, and Yuki's like, how the fuck are you supposed to like yourself? Like, when you don't like yourself, how are you supposed to convince other people to like you or whatever, something like that. So
Yeah.
well, we'll see next time, won't we? We'll find out.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited. I like Kisa. Also, I saw some of the spoiler images or whatever they call it,
Mm-hmm.
the early release screenshots from it. I'm
Excited to see baby tigers.
Oh, baby, I'm excited for Toru to call her a cat.
Yeah. I love Yuki's like, I knew she would say that.
Yeah, it's so good. I like how Yuki's like, here's like betting that Toru falls in the lake or whatever. Like, he's so sassy.
Yeah. Yeah. Kisa's fun. It's also a good Yuki episode. I feel like the first anime downplayed Yuki's part of this, but I can't remember exactly.
I think that you are right. I don't really remember him. I don't really remember that part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if they got a letter. Like, I don't really remember what happened after that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it had that much of it. I remember Kisa was in it, but
My recollection is not very clear, but I don't think that it was as... It certainly wasn't as played up as it was before. But, I mean, I remember Haru and Kisa hugging, so maybe they did have the same scene. But there's definitely... I think, like, the part after... Some of the things after that happened to Yuki, or that was, like, scenes with Yuki, like the one that I was thinking of after the true form stuff, he's like, I can tie my tie better and stuff. Like, some of the things that kind of, like, are launched off of that part don't really come up again, so maybe it just feels like it's not as strongly developed. I don't know.
yeah.
Some spoilers from last time, of course, are, again, like the way Toru's talks is alluded to here, and then Toru's mom's gang days again. One thing I wanted to say before is, like, so when we were talking about the way that women are represented in this episode is that with Uo, Kyoko is the one who comes and rescues her. But I think, like, in Kyoko's case, like, the person who's playing a strong role in her life is Katsuya. So it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
Well, that whole story will be contentious when we get to it anyway, but for so many reasons. But
yeah. And I was like flipping through the manga. I forgot it takes up like almost a whole volume.
Her backstory with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 chapters.
Yeah. Yeah, Katsuya, the Kyoko. It goes also beyond Katsuya's death, but the whole that whole backstory is like a whole volume to itself.
Yeah, it's real sad. Think of the shawarma scenes we're gonna get for those episodes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you think it's sad now? You don't even know.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna break that up.
I don't know.
But yeah, a lot of this stuff is it's spoilery because it's exciting knowing we're actually gonna get the payoff of these things now this time.
So I guess so next episode, I guess they won't have this one. So the chapters that came after this that we were just reading are the school ones, and then like the Machi and Kakeru are teased at that one chapter.
Yeah.
So I guess they probably won't have that. It won't be this episode for sure, but it probably won't even be in this kind of like set of episodes.
Yeah, probably not. I would guess
they'll probably have Kisa and Hiro and Ritsu or something. Yeah. It'd be funny if they tease them and then like the show got canceled and they never talk about them again. You're like, shh.
I guess they might if they do like if they do like the True Form arc and then have like an episode of like Aftermath or something, and it has them like at school or something.
It's possible. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
Bring them in right at the end. Be like dun dun dun.
Mm-hmm.
Because the True Form arc, it sets up a lot of things, but it kind of like is all wrapped up. So like if you wanted to have kind of a cliffhanger in between, you'd probably have to add something. I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But will there be more damage to Shigure's house? We'll just have to wait and see. Are there any other spoilers? I don't know.
Not really. I mean, this is the end of an arc.
That is true. And it's just like we already rehashed it. It's already been talked about so many times, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, like 4 times in the last like 2 weeks.
I mean, I love Uo, but
yeah.
And Kyoko, they're all fantastic. But yeah, this is the last
Timing
time.
Just wound up interesting.
Yeah, it's the last time that we're going to talk about these as spoilers, I guess, because all this stuff will come up in the actual episode proper. So. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we could just leave it at that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that they just pulled these episodes forward.
It's a good choice.
Because then they go.
But yes.
Yeah. I mean, it works, but it's kind of interesting. Because the next episodes are right back where we would have been. Because Kisa is the next thing in line from the previous episodes.
Yeah, I wonder why. Well, this is from after the True Form, so I guess they were just like, well, if we plan these things out, then a True Form is like, how many?
Yeah, I assume they're just trying to make like, moving stuff to make the, like, True Form stuff the climax of the season.
I would assume. So. I feel like everybody's under that assumption right now.
Yeah. I know there was a preview that had some, like, True Form arc stuff in, like, the trailer or whatever, so.
Oh, no. Well, it's because, okay, so if the lake house I'm just looking back at our list of chapters, right? From our episode breakdown. So there's it was Kisa, and then the Prince Yuki fan club, and then Toru fails an exam and catches a cold, and then his true form, and then there's like some stuff with Yuki, and they go to Oyame's shop, which I think was in the original anime. Yeah. So part of that content was brought in, and then it goes into Uo's backstory right away. So so they're probably gonna have to pull something else in from later too, which I guess would be Ritsu, and then who knows? I don't know. That's still.
I was wondering if they might bring in Hana's backstory, but
I would think that would be a good choice too. I don't know. Like, I guess there's possibly something that it's in volume 9. So, and we're reading volume 8 now.
We just got into 8. Yeah.
So it's like.
So his backstory was in volume 7.
Correct.
So it's not that far ahead.
But Ritsu's in volume 8.
Compared to.
So it's like. Yeah. If you break that down to episodes, not that far ahead. And plus the stuff in between there is like. Rin shows up, they go to the haunted house. It's like some not like filler. Like there's always stuff that happens, but there's not major stuff. So alrighty. Seems like we have run out of things to talk about Uo, so I guess we can stop for now. But then soon we'll be able to talk about Kisa, which will be great.
Yay.
I'm excited. Kisa is adorable.
She is. As a person and as a tiger.
Yes. Especially as a tiger.
When she's biting people.
Especially Toru. I hope they keep in that little joke where Kisa runs off and then she had bitten Haru and then Toru was like, I have to get Kisa to stop the bleeding or whatever.
Yeah.
Good times. Anyway, okay, cool. Thank you all for listening. Yeah, you can find us all the places. I don't know. I said it before. If you enjoy this podcast, share it around. Hope you're all enjoying the fresh sounds of Kayla's actual microphone sounding good. And we will see you next time. Probably.
Bye-bye.
No. Definitely didn't sound confident. Yes. We'll see you next time.
It's like barring accidents. We will see you next time.
Well, as long as I can edit it, there's an episode in the can. So
yeah, I was gonna say, it was like technically we've already got
we're
one ready.
We're one ahead at this point. This is because I was sick that time and couldn't talk for so long, and after that I was like, we have to be ready for things, and it's helped out a couple of times. So, like for this episode, how I didn't have notes that just weren't working, so it's good times. All right, well, okay, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
podcast is fine, and the hosts are fine.
Even more fine. I appreciate your bad
That's what I live for.
thing. It's not a pun, just a bad joke. There's a specific word. I was trying to remember the like literature term for that type of comparison, but now I can't remember.
There is a word for that.
It's not a chiasmus, is it? I'm gonna Google it.
I like obscure literary words. The example I always think of is in The Lion King. It says, "My teeth and ambitions are bared."
Oh yeah, it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
yeah. The host and the podcast are fine.
Yeah, it's Zwegma or Zigma. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Zeugma. I found it just by googling "my teeth and ambitions are bared."
Okay.
Yeah.
That is not the term that I learned for it that I could think of off the top of my head, but yes, that's what it is.
Another example it has listed is "get out of my dreams and into my car."
Or like the Alanis Morissette song, I held.
It's like a literal thing and a metaphorical thing.
And the door for me.
Yeah. I like how if you, at least, I don't know if this is just my custom Google results because I'm a nerd, but if you Google "my teeth and ambitions are bared," the first result is the video for the song "Be Prepared." The second result is Sigma definitions and example.
It knows what you want. When I typed in "my teeth" and it said it autofilled "my teeth and gums hurt." Oh yeah, no, I'm getting results for Sigma too. Also, it's the phrase that I learned was solipsis, a figure by which a word or particular form is of a inflection of a word is the same. Blah blah blah. Yeah.
It says it under this definition that I clicked on. It says is occasionally called solipsis. Yeah. There's some debate over whether these two terms really mean the same thing.
Yeah, there's a
drama
English
in the literary
stack
community.
Exchange. Yeah, English stack exchange discussion. What's the difference between Zegma and solipsis? But I'll save that.
Oh, here we go.
Later.
How to pronounce it? Zeugma.
What?
That's even better.
Zeugma.
Zeugma.
What is the origin of that word?
I have no idea.
Wait. I have the power of the internet. We don't have to.
I'm gonna guess Greek.
Okay, that's what I would guess, but I don't. What is? I don't know.
Seems like Greek sounds Zeus. To me. Yeah.
Etymology. It is Greek. You're right.
Yeah. Sorry,
there's a Wikipedia article, Zegma and solipsis. Zeugma and solipsis.
Zeugma. Yeah, this part of the article about like the two words. This is like, according to Team, Zeugma is not solipsis.
According to teens.
According to Team, Zeugma is not solipsis. Yeah.
I was like, what do teens have to say about this debate? There are other types of zeugmas. There's a diazeugma, a hypozeugma, prozeugma, mesozeugma. I didn't read any of what that means. I'm just looking at it on Wikipedia.
I don't know, but I now want a business card that says prozeugma.
Prozeugma.
I'm a professional zeugma.
Why don't you just change your Tumblr handle to that?
Yeah.
Well, my Tumblr
that would be a good username, actually.
It would be great. No one would have taken it. That's why mine's diacritical, because nobody's taken that. Although I think a couple people have. Which is another nerdy linguistic pun.
Like, Zeugma can do more than simply drive home a point in a memorable way. They're so pithy that they make the speaker come off as sharp and spontaneous, especially when spoken aloud. In other words, Zeugma make great zingers and are perfect for the big screen. Just like what you just did. Yes, I am sharp and spontaneous.
You deserve each other. This guy and you. You're both so smart. That's also probably a zeugma, now that I think about it.
It's got an example from Taylor Swift.
What is it?
He's got a one-hand feel on the steering wheel, the other on my heart.
Oh, that's probably from that new song.
It's called Our Song. I don't know a lot of Taylor Swift. I don't know a lot of T-Swift.
Apparently, Taylor Swift was, according to, you can do, a analysis of your Spotify data, and Taylor Swift was my most listened to artist last year. I was like, oh, okay. It's fine.
Hey, T Swift is good in my book.
I like T
I
Swift.
don't have negative opinions of T Swift. I don't love all of her songs, but she's doing her
Yes,
thing, and I respect her.
such as our song. Not a big fan, I don't think, because whatever one you
Yeah,
just said, I
I
did not
like
recognize it.
what's that one? I just heard it on the radio the other day.
Is it a newer song or an older song?
It's an older one.
I'm enjoying being able to guess.
It's from like the last big round of her songs that came out.
Wait, so that makes it old? You mean like
Like not
you
the
mean like
current.
before,
I
like
mean, yeah,
Shake It
not the
Off or
current
something
recent
like
one.
that?
It was in the Shake It Off era, but it was the
Oh.
other one because I like Shake It Off okay, but I liked the other one better.
Bad blood. No.
That one's okay too. What is
Blank
it?
Space.
Yeah, Blank Space. That one's my favorite.
Yeah. Got along. Got along. Wait.
Got a long list of
Starbucks lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to make the reference to. Clearly, we love T Swift. It can't be hidden from Spotify or from me and you.
This is why your recordings go so long.
Yeah.
It's like 20 minutes and a lesson on Zugma later.